So let's make some fresh tracks here at Road America and their off-road course.
Welcome to Downshift, everyone. My name is Paulo.
And my name is Matt, and we have spent the last week with Ford's Ranger Raptor. We have been all over the mid-size truck segment and the off-road extreme variants of all of those. I have to say, this one stands out quite a bit. So I'm gonna walk you through the best and the rest of this thing.
Yeah, then we're gonna get behind the wheel and talk about some of the standouts we had this week and also how it compares to some of those competitors Matt just mentioned.
Let's get into it. Now, one of the cons, I guess you could say, about the Ranger Raptor, at least versus its competitors, has to do with the towing. Now, a normal Ranger packs 7,000 pounds of towing capacity, but you get the Ranger Raptor with the Fox shocks and all of the changes for the off-road application, and you lose about 1,500 pounds of towing. It's 5,510 pounds of max towing capacity here on the Ranger Raptor. You compare that with the ZR2, the AT4/AT4X, and the Toyota Tacoma TRDs, and you're looking at about 6,000 pounds for each. So this is about 490 pounds short versus the competition if you're keeping score. But it's probably not that big a deal. And then there's the price. Now, the Raptor version of the Ranger starts at $56,000. You compare that to something like the Toyota TRD Pro, the Tacoma, that starts at $52,000. So it's about $4,000 less for the Toyota. But again, we're talking 3-liter twin-turbo V6 versus 2.4 turbo hybrid in the Tacoma. You can go up to the Trail Hunter that we tested last year. That's about $63,000 to start though, so that's big, big money. But if you want to go back to the American way, you can get a Colorado ZR2 from Chevy. That starts at under $50,000, so significantly cheaper than this. Again, 4-cylinder. But you can get the GMC version, the AT4, which starts at less than this, but you can add on an AT4X package onto your Canyon AT4, which will make it more than this Ranger Raptor. But again, there's something that you're getting here, the visceralness, the V6, the twin turbo, the kind of raw, jagged edge experience that you're not getting in any of the others. You get it here in the Ranger Raptor. And like with any modern car or truck, there's just a couple little nitpicks that we should talk about. Like for one of my favorite features in the F-150, the big brother Raptor, is the fact that you can get the Pro Power onboard system with like 2.7 kilowatts of output of power. Here you're capped at just 400 watts in the bed. The next two have to do with the interior, and it's one, you don't get a sunroof of any kind in the Ranger Raptor. Just a little bit weird, but I guess kind of keeps weight down and keeps rigidity strong. And the other thing is that you don't get any vents for your rear seats. Not something that I would necessarily expect from a mid-sized truck, but for a Raptor, top of the line, maybe I'd start to look at it. And the front seats here are heated, and they do get real hot, which has been real nice in the winter here, but you can get cooled seats in the front of the Tacoma Trail Hunter. But with all those nitpicks covered, let's talk about all the great things about this Raptor. And the first and arguably best thing about the Ranger Raptor is the engine. This Ranger Raptor packs really the only V6 left, kinda. The Nissan Frontier still gives you a V6, but not like this, not twin turbo. And all of the rivals are then 4-cylinder turbos or 4-cylinder turbo hybrids in the case of the Toyota. This is the only one then with a twin turbo V6 charisma to it. 3 liters of twin turbo V6 Fury. It's the same engine that we had under the hood of the Bronco Raptor the other week, but here it makes 405 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is done in the mid 5 seconds, and EPA says you're going to get 17 mpg, but we got 19.5 in our Lakeshore Loop test, but that sometimes flatters these cars. But it does show under 300 miles of range on a full tank, which is something that I complained about in the Toyota Tacoma Trail Hunter. So maybe a bigger fuel tank or maybe some more efficiency when it's not sub-freezing temperatures would do the trick. But it's the sound and the power delivery here. And it's just good old-fashioned V6 fun. And this is a Raptor, so where else can we talk about off-road stuff than at Road America's off-road course? Again, thank you to Ford for letting us test off-road, and thank you to Road America for letting us use your beautiful, snowy, and picturesque off-road course to test all these cars. Now, with the Ranger Raptor, we want to start from the ground up, and that means starting with the tires. You've got BFG KO3, so they're the next generation of one of the most iconic off-road tires of all time. The tread pattern's a little bit different, and it actually works really well here in the snow. We do have our rear locker on, but we'll go up this hill here, which you can't see, but I'll lay a B-roll clip over of me doing before, and it's not gonna be a problem. I also hit my little off-road mode button, and then I've got my front camera that stays on. Super, super easy. to get up this hill. We then, of course, have the iconic and the Ford Raptor staple, Fox live valve shocks. It's coils and dampers in the back, so no leaf springs in the back for the Ranger Raptor here. Now, this Ranger Raptor versus a normal Ranger is about 3 inches wider. So it's a wider track, there's more tire, and there's more flare to go along with that, which of course helps when you're off-roading. But from there you have a front and rear locking differential, which is fantastic, especially in low grip conditions such as this. We've also got a 4x4 setting, as you would imagine, low range, but we do have 4 auto, which is not something that you're gonna have in the Toyota products. In the TRD Pros and the Trail Hunters, Toyota's still only bringing that part-time 4x4 system, so you have to go to the Americans if you want a 4 auto or an automatic 4-wheel drive setting, which is just kind of nice to have. But in terms of clearance, we're looking at about almost 11 inches, 10.7 inches of clearance. We've got trail control. We've got all sorts of off-road goodies to make sure that we don't get stuck while we're ripping here off the road. But with all that covered, let's talk about the on-road manners. And then, like I said, when we get this thing back on the road, the on-road manners are actually pretty good. Now, a lot of times you get the off-road version of something and then the tires make a bunch of noise and there's a bunch of wind noise and the suspension is not exactly tuned for this, but here, only some of that stuff is true. But we'll start with the sound, because you get the smooth power from the 3-liter EcoBoost V6. It's the only V6 in the class if you don't count the Frontier. And it sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound quite as good as the F-150's 3.5 EcoBoost V6 with their like special trombone loop, but still, there's an experience and an emotion and like some drama here that you get from this exhaust note that you're not getting from the Toyota, even with the little spoolie turbo thing coming out of the snorkel. But still, you get the 10-speed transmission here. It's great. I've got 4 auto here, which has been super nice here in the winter. When you have snow and ice and crap on the roads, you can know that the truck's really going to take care of everything for you. You don't have to make a decision and stick with it like you would in a Toyota part-time 4x4 system. I've also got big BFG KO3 tires. They make a little bit of noise, but overall it's a truck. It's pretty par for the course, but you do have the Fox live valve shocks. They ride much better than a Bilstein. It's not quite the same cushy, floating magic carpet ride that you would get in the Big Brother F-150, but this isn't as much as the F-150, and it still ends up being a pretty comfortable thing, especially at highway speeds. It just kind of whumps through bumps. It does a pretty good job. The steering actually feels pretty good. There's a little bit of like rally car vibe that I get from this thing, especially driving it on the off-road course at Road America and then back on the street here. The body stays controlled, the steering is good. There's 3 different weights. The normal weight I think is a little bit heavy for day-to-day driving, but you have a comfort mode for your steering, which kind of lightens things up and makes things easier for day-to-day. And of course you've got a sport if you want a little bit more heft. But there's suspension travel, it loads up nicely. The driving experience is actually pretty good. Now there is constant vibrations and constant sounds going on in here, but that again kind of adds to that like raw or jagged edge personality that you're getting in a Raptor product that you're not getting anywhere else. And ultimately, I can keep babbling on, but it's fun to drive. And when it comes to styling, I don't think they make an ugly duckling in the mid-size truck segment anymore, but this is on a different level. Here we have cactus gray for our paint, which does match the character of the car. But you do get a Raptor grille, but you don't have the marker lights. There's no ambers because this is under 80 inches wide, so it's not mandated by the federal government. But if I were a betting man, I would think amber marker lights are probably the first modification that most people are gonna do. But you do have some hood embellishments up top, and down below you have front recovery hooks, skid plates, and some extra protection, obviously. Around side you have 33-inch BFG KO3s, and they're wrapped around beadlock capable wheels. These are a $1,500 upcharge, but they look pretty good. You can get a Raptor splash on the side of the bed or just Raptor down the bed. And of course out back you get dual exhaust. Now the new Tacoma does look good. The AT4X looks good. The ZR2 looks good, but I think this is my favorite. Leave it down in the comments what you think looks the best. And then let's talk about the cabin experience that you get here in the Raptor. You get heated seats and memory seats. You're not gonna get cooled seats. You gotta go up to the Big Brother F-150 Raptor for that. But in terms of the interior, the dash design, the cabin design, it's all pretty cool. It looks modern. It definitely kind of feels ready for this segment. It doesn't feel like it's lagging behind or anything. Now, black is the only interior color that you're gonna get, but you're gonna get it with the orange stuff everywhere, as you might expect, especially from, you know, the Bronco Raptor that we were in 2 weeks ago. There's leather, there's Alcantara, there's like neoprene on the dash, which is just kind of fun and different. And then the steering wheel, of course, is unique to the Raptor. You've got the big Raptor shift paddles, orange stitch, noon marker, Raptor down at the bottom, and then all of the controls on the steering wheel for your steering adjustments, your damper adjustments, exhaust adjustments. You've got an R mode, so it's basically like a BMW M product in a way. But I do like the personality that you get here in the cabin. Everything is textured. You've got orange rimming your vents and everywhere throughout the cabin, and everything's pretty practical. You've got a dash cubby, you've got 2 glove boxes, and everything has a purpose, and everything looks cool, and it works really well. And then let's talk truck stuff. For one, you've got 1,400 pounds of payload capacity. You've got a 5-foot bed and crew cab configuration no matter what. And we do have that 400 watts of power coming out of the bed that we talked about earlier, which is still probably enough to power most work sites or campsites. You do have the tailgate accessory package here, so you've got some additional rulers and things, and you have the spray-in bed liner for $500. So maybe it's not quite as versatile as its big brother F-150 with something like a bed step or the more robust Pro Power on board, but still you've got enough payload, you've got a bed liner, and you do have some power running out to the bed, so it's practical enough, at least for me. And then when it comes to the technology, you get basically everything that you could need here. The only thing that you don't get is a head-up display. Now personally, I don't think I personally would need that, but if you're keeping track and keeping score against some of the others, you're not going to get a head-up display here, but you do have a big, vivid, full digital instrument cluster. It gives you loads of information, more than you'll probably ever need, but it's nice to be able to choose. And then you move over to your center infotainment system, and it's a vertical one, like you would see in the Lightning that we were just in, or the Mach-E, and it's just kind of cool. 12.4 inches, you've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you've got great 360 cameras, and you've got trail cameras that actually work when you're off-roading. They leave your front-facing camera on, so if you're cresting, you know, blind hills or something, you can keep track of where your tolerances are and where your line should be. It just works pretty well. You've got a wireless charger, of course, and when it comes to your safety suite, it works really well. It works well enough to be helpful on the highway, and that's really, to be honest, what I'm looking for. So from a tech perspective, they really hadn't missed here in the Ford Ranger Raptor. And when you get to the rear seats, of course, they fold up for some additional storage, as you might expect, and they're relatively decent sized. I'm 6'1", climb in here. Now I have this seat a little extra far back for myself at 6'1". I can sit here, I am straddling a bit, but the passenger seat is moved up to where my wife would sit, and I have an inch and a half of knee room in front of me. Nice thing is I do have headroom. Maybe it might be nice to have a little bit of a sunroof to bring some light in, because black is the only interior you're gonna get, but I do have a map pocket down here. I've got some chargers back here and a powered rear window. Plus, the orange and black kind of continue into the back, so there's a little bit of personality too. And some of the odds and ends, you still get a security pad for your little combination lock, and it's about $95. Interesting, it's not on the window frame. It's usually up here, but it's down here on the Ranger. And unlike the Bronco we were in last week or 2 weeks ago, we have drive modes rather than goat modes. But in Raptor fashion, we still have the classic overhead toggle auxiliary switches. And my fingers don't work because they're frozen. And this is one of my favorite things lately, is just the amount of squish and padding that you have in your center console, your center armrest here. Really, really comfortable. And in your digital instrument cluster next to your compass, you have a little outline of a truck. And it doesn't really look like a Raptor, it looks more like an F-150, and not even necessarily this generation F-150. It almost looks like a Gen 2 Raptor. But with all these things covered, let's grab the keys, go for a bit of a drive. Hey guys, real quick, Matt here. Just wanted to say I hope you've been enjoying the video. If you have, would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does go a long way in helping us get access to cars sooner and get access to manufacturer engineers so we can get more information on the cars and get you more information so you can make better decisions. So would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe, like, comment, the whole YouTube thing. But with that, let's get back to the video.
Ranger Raptor.
It does sound good.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound as good as the F-150. Sigh.
Wait, I also wasn't in Baja mode. Baja mode.
Go ahead. Tell me all your thoughts and feelings about the Ranger Raptor.
No, I really like it. I think it rides really well. Obviously, you say that the F-150 Raptor rides a little bit better, in your opinion. I think it's negligible, but to each their own, right? I think it has enough power. I think it sounds really good. And I think the size makes a lot of sense.
Yes, it
and
does.
the price point makes a lot of sense to me too. So, no, I really enjoyed it. I think the only other like nitpicks I have, I wish it had cooled seats. And
yeah, that'd be kind of nice. You can get that on the Trail Hunter.
I also wish that it had vents in the back.
Yeah, the back seat is pretty Spartan. Also weird that you can't get a sunroof. So
Yeah.
no sunroof, no cooled seats. That's stuff that you can get in like the Toyota equivalent. But yeah, I mean, like, we can make comparisons, and we've talked a lot about, well, not on camera, but we talk a lot about how this compares to the F-150 Raptor, but they don't compete. You know, this is orders of magnitude cheaper, 20, 25 grand cheaper, right? So this obviously competes against the TRD Pro, Trail Hunter, Tacoma, AT4X, even the AEV, and the ZR2, the Colorado. And like, this has clearly the most like charisma. It's the only twin turbo V6. The only other place that you can get a V6 is a naturally aspirated one from Frontier, Nissan, but those, no one wants those apparently. So like, you want a V6, you want like some rah kind of like jagged edge, raw driving experience. This is what you got to get. Yeah,
rides really well. I think the driver assist features are actually pretty decent. It doesn't have Blue Cruise, but it does fairly well at keeping you with the lane tracing assist.
I really like it.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I think like they all have their segments. Like if you want Baja speed trail running, like it's this. If you're rock crawling and narrow trails, it's probably like the Trail Hunter or the ZR2 Bison that we had.
Yeah.
And then if you want to drive around in parking lots, that's when you get the TRD Pro. So they all have their segments and space for when you use them.
Yeah, no, I think midsize truck, this is the clear winner from just like a fun experience perspective. You'll pay for it a bit, but we also drove that Canyon AT4X AEV Bison Edition, and that was like significantly more expensive than this even.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the twin turbo V6. Yeah, it doesn't sound as good as the F-150. Yeah, it doesn't ride as good as the F-150, but like, it's not an F-150 rival. It's so much smaller. It makes more sense. We talked about this. It makes more sense here. What is our big complaint with the F-150 when we take it off-road is, oh, it's too wide, it's too long for some of the tighter, like more forested trails in Wisconsin and in the Midwest. Sure, it's great for Baja off-roading when there's not a tree to run into.
Yeah.
But there's trees around here. So this makes a lot of sense. You talked about parking. This is smaller, easier to park, easier to maneuver around town.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's a better value.
You get like, you get a marginally less experience than the full-size F-150 Raptor for a fraction of the price.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I think that makes it worth it. I do think that the ZR2 Bison looked better, the Chevy, but like this just, I agree with you that the F-150 full-size Raptor like really stands out.
Yeah. The first thing that I would do if I bought this truck is change the headlights, the runners to amber, and then get like some marker lights, because then it feels more like Raptor to me. But that's really all that it needs. Like, I don't think it needs anything else.
No.
The interior is fine. The exterior, I think, looks cool enough to be special, and it's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking for like a mid-size truck, this is it, I think. So if it's your money, are you having this or the ZR2 or Taco, or what are you thinking?
I think I'd get this. Yeah.
I think so too. So
yeah.
Anything else?
I just can't. So if it was between this and an F-150, you were
I
saying
would get an F-150.
you would save up for the F-150.
I would save up for the F-150.
Okay.
It's like the Jeremy Clarkson meme. This is brilliant, but I like the F-150.
Yeah.
I like it.
I guess let us know down in the comments what you would get if money was a factor. Would you save up an extra 25 grand for the F-150 Raptor, or are you going to get the Ranger Raptor? Let us know.
Comments. And thank you to Ford and thank you to Road America for being participants in this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
Later, guys.